The discovery. The diplomatic vessel Athena emerged from the jump point with a shudder, streams of blue-white energy washing over its hull before dissipating into the vacuum. Captain Maya Chen steadied herself against her command chair, her dark eyes fixed on the vast starscape that materialized on the viewscreen. "Jump successful, Captain," Lieutenant Sharma announced from the navigation station. "We've arrived at the Centauri neutral zone." Maya nodded, her expression betraying none of the anxiety churning in her stomach. "Status of our diplomatic team. Ambassador Torres and her staff are prepared in the conference room," Communications Officer Walsh replied. "The Ilidian and Vrontari delegations have acknowledged our arrival, though neither seems particularly pleased about it." "They never are," Maya replied. Humanity was the newest player in the galactic theater, their first extraterrestrial contact barely 2 decades behind them. To the ancient species that dominated interstellar politics, humans were upstarts, brash, impulsive, and naive. Yet here they were, attempting to broker peace between civilizations that had been spacefaring when humans were still figuring out basic metallurgy. The Ilidian Collective and the Vrontari Imperium had been locked in a brutal war for nearly 15 years. What had begun as border disputes had escalated into a conflict that now threatened to engulf the entire sector. The Galactic Council, desperate to prevent further destabilization, had reluctantly accepted Earth's offer to mediate. "Captain, long-range scans show increased military activity in both territories," Science Officer Doan reported, sliding a data tablet across the tactical display. "Both sides are mobilizing additional forces even as we speak." Maya studied the tablet, frowning at the deployment patterns. "These formations don't make strategic sense. The Ilidians are positioning their fleet to defend against attacks from empty space, while the Vrontari are fortifying systems that face no direct threat. Perhaps they're anticipating movements we can't detect," Sharma suggested. "Perhaps." Maya wasn't convinced. "Pull up the reports on the last dozen major engagements." The main display filled with battle data. Destroyed outposts, ambushed patrols, civilian transports caught in crossfire. Each incident was attributed to either the Ilidians or Vrontari, each denied by the accused, and each driving the war to greater heights of brutality. Maya circled her finger over several incidents. "The attack patterns, the weapon signatures. There are inconsistencies here." "Captain," Walsh interrupted, hand pressed to her earpiece. "We're receiving a transmission from the Ilidian flagship. High Commander Tessic is requesting to speak with you directly, not the ambassador." Maya raised an eyebrow, but nodded. "Put it through." The view screen shifted to reveal a tall, willowy being with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescent patterns. Tessic's 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, fixed on Maya with cold intensity. "Captain Chen." The alien's voice was melodic but clipped. "I will be direct. Your presence here is futile. This conflict has roots you cannot comprehend with your species' limited perspective." Maya maintained her composure. "With respect, High Commander, fresh eyes sometimes see what familiar ones cannot." "Knave," Tessic dismissed. "The Vrontari massacred thousands on our colony world of Neveris. They destroyed civilian habitats without warning or mercy. This is not a misunderstanding to be resolved with diplomatic pleasantries." And yet, Maya countered, "the Vrontari insist they had nothing to do with Neveris. They claim you struck first, targeting their research stations in the Tholian Rift." "They lie, as is their nature," Tessic hissed. Before Maya could respond, Walsh signaled again. "The Vrontari Supreme Marshal is now demanding to speak with you as well." The screen split, and the imposing figure of Marshal Krav appeared. Where the Ilidian was ethereal and elegant, the Vrontari leader was solid and formidable, with armored gray skin and cybernetic enhancements visible along his jawline. "Human," Krav rumbled, "do not be deceived by Ilidian manipulation. They are the aggressors. They destroyed our stations, then claim victimhood when we defend ourselves." "A fabrication," Tessic snapped. Maya watched the exchange with growing interest. Both leaders seemed genuinely convinced of the other's guilt. Either one side was executing an elaborate deception, or, "High Commander, Supreme Marshal," she interrupted, "would you be willing to share your sensor data from these incidents? Perhaps an objective analysis could reveal the truth." Both alien leaders hesitated. "Our defensive systems are classified," Tessic said finally. "As are ours," Krav agreed, perhaps the first time the two had concurred on anything in years. "Then we remain at an impasse," Maya concluded. "But consider this. What if you are both right about being wronged, yet wrong about who is responsible?" The suggestion hung in the void between them. Neither leader dismissed it outright. "The diplomatic summit proceeds as scheduled," Maya pressed. "In the meantime, my team will conduct an independent investigation. As newcomers to this region, we have no established allegiances or biases." After a tense silence, both leaders reluctantly agreed before terminating their communications. Maya turned to her senior officers. "They're hiding something, but I don't think it's what we assumed. Dawn, I want a full analysis of every reported attack. Walsh, dig through communication logs. Look for patterns, anomalies, anything unusual. Sharma, plot us a course that will take us near the sites of the 3 most recent battles." "You think they're both telling the truth?" Dawn asked, already compiling data. "That neither is responsible for the attacks they're being blamed for. I think," Maya said carefully, "that someone wants these two powers to go to war, and they've been very methodical in making sure it happens." As the Athena moved deeper into the neutral zone, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. If her suspicions were correct, whoever was engineering this conflict wouldn't appreciate humanity's interference. 3 days later, Maya stood in the ship's analysis lab surrounded by holographic reconstructions of destroyed outposts and shattered vessels. The diplomatic summit was set to begin in less than 48 hours, but she was convinced the truth lay hidden in these fragments of data. There, Dawn pointed to an energy signature recorded moments before an Olydian outpost was obliterated. "That's not Fronteri weapons technology. The radiation profile is completely wrong." And here, Maya highlighted a communication burst from a Fronteri patrol ship before it was destroyed. The attacking vessels identify themselves as Olydian, but the encryption protocols don't match authenticated Olydian military communications. Walsh burst into the lab, her face flushed with excitement. "Captain, we've intercepted something. A transmission on a frequency neither the Olydians nor Fronteri monitor. It was heavily encrypted, but we managed to isolate a fragment." She activated her tablet, and a distorted voice filled the room. "Phase 3 complete. Both targets responding as predicted. Asset extraction from projected conflict zone at 85%. Profit margins exceeding initial projections by 40%. The recording ended, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. "Someone's manipulating both sides," Sharma whispered, "creating a war for profit. But who? And why don't the Olydians or Fronteri see it?" Walsh asked. Maya's mind raced. "Because they're looking for what they expect to see. Their history of tension creates the perfect blind spot. They are so convinced of each other's guilt that they never consider a third party." "We need to take this to the summit," Dawn urged. Maya shook her head. "Not yet. This isn't enough to convince them. They'll dismiss it as human naivety, or worse, suspect us of trying to manipulate them for our own ends." She straightened, decision made. "We need irrefutable proof, and I think I know how to get it." She turned to her team, determination hardening her features. "We're going hunting." The investigation. The Athena drifted silently through the asteroid field at the edge of the Centauri neutral zone, its engines powered down to minimal output, its sensor profile reduced to that of space debris. On the bridge, Captain Maya Chen and her core team waited in tense silence. "Any sign of pursuit?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper despite the fact that sound couldn't travel through the vacuum surrounding them. Lieutenant Sharma checked his instruments. "Negative. The Vronteri patrol lost us when we executed that slingshot maneuver around the gas giant. They've resumed their standard route. Maya nodded. After their abrupt departure from the diplomatic station, citing a fabricated technical malfunction, both the Elydians and Vronteri had grown suspicious. The Athena was operating without official sanction now. Even Ambassador Torres was unaware of their true mission. Status of the tracking beacon? Maya asked. Science Officer Dawn glanced up from her console. Signal is faint but steady. The automated cargo vessel we tagged is still on course, heading deeper into the uncharted region between the two territories. Maya leaned forward, studying the tactical display. The ship they were following had appeared in 3 separate battle zones over the past month, always departing just before an attack occurred. It was registered as a private mining contractor, authorized to operate in both Elydian and Vronteri space, one of dozens of neutral vessels permitted to continue commerce despite the war. Incoming transmission, Walsh announced suddenly. It's heavily encrypted, same frequency as our mystery recording. Can you clean it up? Walsh worked her console. Partially. Routing to main speakers. A voice, distorted and barely intelligible, filled the bridge. Delivery confirmed. Payment transferred. Next target coordinates attached. Estimated value of resources, 2.3 billion credits post-conflict. Maya exchanged glances with her officers. They're planning another attack. Captain, Darwin said urgently, the cargo vessel is changing course. It's heading toward a densely packed region of the asteroid field, an area our long-range scans couldn't penetrate. Follow them, Maya ordered. Maintain distance, but don't lose them. The Athena glided forward, threading carefully through the massive rocks. After 20 minutes of tense navigation, Sharma suddenly straightened in his chair. Captain, there's something ahead. Our sensors are having trouble making sense of it. Maya squinted at the view screen. At first, she saw nothing but asteroids. Then, as they rounded a particularly large one, she gasped. Nestled within the heart of the asteroid field was a massive structure, or rather, a collection of structures, hidden from conventional detection by the surrounding rocks and equipped with sophisticated stealth technology. It resembled a small space station, but with numerous vessels docked around its perimeter. Full sensor sweep, Maya ordered. I want to know everything about that facility. Tawan worked frantically at her station. It's incredible. The station is using technology from both Elydian and Vronteri designs, plus elements I don't recognize. Power signature suggests it's been here for at least 20 years. Multiple hangar bays, manufacturing facilities, and what appears to be a substantial weapons testing area. Look at those ships. Sharma pointed to several vessels visible in the external docking ports. They're designed to mimic both Elydian and Vronteri military vessels. Perfect disguises for false flag operations. The cargo ship they had been following docked with the station. I need visual confirmation, Maya said. Magnify that loading bay. The view screen zoomed in on the cargo vessel. Humanoid figures in environmental suits were unloading large containers. As they worked, one turned in their direction, and the light caught the insignia on their suit. Korvax Syndicate, Walsh breathed. I've heard rumors about them during my time in intelligence. They're supposed to be a myth, a shadowy organization that profiteers from conflicts across the galaxy. Not a myth anymore, Maya replied grimly. Dawn, can you hack into their communication system without alerting them to our presence? The science officer hesitated. It's risky, but I might be able to establish a passive link, enough to monitor but not interact. Do it. For the next hour, they watched and listened as the facility hummed with activity. Gradually, a picture emerged that confirmed Maya's worst suspicions. The Korvax Syndicate had been methodically engineering the war between the Elydians and Vronteri for years. They had started with minor border incidents, escalating slowly to build tension. Once the conflict erupted into open warfare, they began the real operation, systematically attacking targets on both sides while disguised as the enemy. ensuring the war continued and intensified. Meanwhile, they were quietly extracting valuable resources from systems abandoned in the conflict: rare minerals, technology, even cultural artifacts. As systems were evacuated due to the war, the Syndicate moved in, stripping them bare before either side could return. "They're war profiteers on an unprecedented scale," Dolan said, disgust evident in her voice. "But why these two species specifically?" Maya studied the data flowing across her screen. Both the Ilidians and Fronteri control resource-rich territories, and their historical tensions made them perfect targets. The Syndicate just needed to provide the spark, then keep the fire burning. "Captain," Walsh interrupted, "I'm picking up a new transmission. Detailed plans for their next attack. They're going to hit an Ilidian civilian research station near Proxima II, disguised as Fronteri forces." Maya's jaw tightened. "When?" "Tomorrow, just hours before the diplomatic summit is scheduled to begin." "Perfect timing," Maya said bitterly. "The attack would collapse any hope of peace negotiations." Sharma leaned forward. "We have to warn them." "With what evidence?" Maya countered. "Everything we have is circumstantial. We need something concrete, something neither side can dismiss." She turned to Thawne. "Can you access their central database? We need operational plans, financial records, command structures, anything that proves they're behind the attacks." Thawne frowned. "I can try, but it would require getting closer to the station, close enough that they might detect us." Maya considered their options. The diplomatic summit was their best chance to expose the Syndicate, but only if they had irrefutable proof. The risk was enormous, but the alternative, allowing the war to continue and more innocents to die, was unacceptable. "Take us in," she ordered finally. "Minimal power, use the asteroids for cover. We need that data." The Athena crept forward, slipping from the shadow of one asteroid to another. They were less than 5 kilometers from the station when Thawne announced, "I've established a connection to their network, beginning data extraction." Minutes crawled by as files transferred to the Athena's secure servers. The tension on the bridge was palpable, every officer acutely aware that discovery would mean not only the failure of their mission but likely their deaths as well. 70% complete, Thawne reported. "We're getting everything: operational plans, communication logs, financial transfers." "Captain," Sharma's urgent whisper cut through the silence, "one of their patrol ships is changing course. It's heading in our direction." Maya felt her heart pound. "How long until the data transfer is complete?" "Another 3 minutes minimum," Thawne replied. "We don't have 3 minutes," Sharma warned. "They'll be in visual range in less than 2. Maya made a split-second decision. "Prepare to raise shields and power weapons. Walsh, ready a narrowband transmission to both the Ilidian and Fronteri flagships. Include our current location and a preliminary summary of what we've discovered." "You want to reveal our position?" Walsh asked, shocked. "If we're discovered, our only hope is to make sure this information reaches the right people," Maya explained. "If the Syndicate attacks us, we broadcast immediately." The patrol ship continued its approach. "They're scanning the area," Sharma reported, tension evident in his voice. "Hold position," Maya ordered. "Dawn. 85%. 90. 95. The patrol ship was now close enough that they could see its armored hull through the view screen, its weapons ports clearly visible. "Transfer complete," Dawn announced. At that same moment, Sharma said, "They've stopped. They're holding position 2 kilometers away." Everyone on the bridge held their breath. "They're turning," Sharma whispered finally, "resuming their patrol route." The collective exhale was audible. Maya allowed herself a small smile. "We got what we came for," she said. "Now let's make sure it wasn't for nothing. Set course back to the diplomatic station. Maximum speed once we're clear of the asteroid field." As the Athena prepared to depart, Maya reviewed the stolen data. What they had uncovered was worse than she had imagined. The Korvac Syndicate's operation extended beyond simple profiteering. They had methodically manipulated two civilizations into a war that had cost millions of lives, all to enrich themselves. Now, with the evidence secured, they had less than 24 hours to prevent the next attack and expose the truth at the summit. Maya could only hope it would be enough to convince two deeply entrenched enemies to listen to the words of a species they barely respected. The most difficult part of their mission still lay ahead. The revelation. The grand chamber of the Centauri diplomatic station hummed with tension. Delegates from both the Elydian Collective and Frontera Imperium sat rigidly on opposite sides of the circular room, their postures reflecting the deep hostility between their peoples. In the center, at a raised platform designed for neutral mediators, Captain Maya Chen stood alongside Ambassador Torres, awaiting the arrival of the faction leaders. "I still think this is reckless," Torres whispered. "We should have consulted with Earth Command before proceeding." "There wasn't time," Maya replied softly. "The Syndicate's next attack is scheduled for 3 hours from now. If we don't stop this war today, thousands more will die." Torres sighed. "You're asking two ancient civilizations to believe that they've been manipulated by a third party they've never heard of, based on evidence gathered in an unsanctioned operation." "I'm asking them to look at facts," Maya corrected. "The data speaks for itself." The chamber doors slid open, and High Commander Tessic of the Elydians entered, followed moments later by Supreme Marshal Krav of the Frontera. Neither acknowledged the other as they took their positions. Krav barked orders into his communication device, while Tessic's patterns pulsed rapidly as he communicated with his fleet. Within minutes, both Elydian and Frontera vessels had arrived, surrounding the attackers. For perhaps the first time in 15 years, the two forces were coordinating rather than opposing each other. "Fascinating," Dawn murmured, watching the tactical display. "Look how quickly they adapted to fighting together rather than against each other." The Syndicate vessels, realizing they were outmatched, attempted to flee. Several were disabled and captured. The others scattered, jumping to light speed before they could be caught. In the aftermath, Maya stood with Tessic, Krav, and Torres in the station's secure command center, watching as the captured Syndicate operatives were brought in for questioning. The evidence was now undeniable. The operatives weren't Elydian or Frontera, but mercenaries hired by the Syndicate. "For 15 years, Tessic said, his voice heavy with realization, "we have fought a war that was never truly ours. Millions dead," Krav added, "for someone else's profit." Maya watched as the ancient enemies stood side by side, united in their shock and anger. "The question now," she said carefully, "is what happens next." The alien leaders turned to her. "You saw what we could not," Tessic acknowledged. "Your species' perspective proved valuable in ways we could not have anticipated." "Perhaps," Krav rumbled, "humans have more to offer the galactic community than we recognized." Ambassador Torres stepped forward smoothly. "Earth would be honored to help facilitate a peace process between your peoples, and we can coordinate a joint operation to dismantle the Syndicate's operations throughout this sector." The next 12 hours were a flurry of activity. Combined Elydian Frontera human task forces raided the Syndicate base that Maya's team had discovered, capturing key leadership and recovering vast stores of stolen resources. Similar operations were launched across the sector, targeting Syndicate operations that had previously operated with impunity. As the immediate crisis subsided, Maya found herself on the observation deck of the Athena, staring out at the stars. Dawn joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "Quite the diplomatic success," the science officer noted. "Earth Central is calling it a breakthrough in interstellar relations." Maya smiled faintly. It wasn't diplomacy that won the day. It was evidence, truth, and a willingness to look beyond assumptions, Dawn added. "Something humans seem particularly good at." "We're newcomers," Maya said, sipping her coffee. "We don't have centuries of history coloring our perceptions. Sometimes naivety has its advantages." On the main view screen, she could see Elydian and Frontera ships flying joint patrols, something unimaginable just days ago. The peace would be fragile at first, the wounds of 15 years not easily healed. But a foundation had been laid. They're calling for a permanent human presence in this sector, Dahlman mentioned. Both the Elydians and Fronteri have requested Earth establish an ongoing diplomatic mission. Maya nodded, unsurprised. Humanity had proven its value not through superior technology or military might, but through perspective, the ability to see what others could not, to question assumptions, to seek truth beyond the obvious. In a galaxy of ancient civilizations, humanity's youth had become its greatest strength. "Captain," Walsh called from her station, "we're receiving a transmission from both the Elydian and Fronteri command ships. They're requesting to speak with you." Maya straightened her uniform and nodded. "Put them through." As the faces of her former adversaries appeared on screen, now looking to her with newfound respect, Maya Chen couldn't help but feel that humanity had finally found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as peacemakers, as the ones who could see through deception to truth. It was, she thought, a role worth embracing.